I think a society warms.
What?
It's just because it sounds the same. But yeah, you can go with that. And the bigger picture.
Alright. Hi everybody! I hope you can see me and that I'm recording this properly, because
We're not doing it again.
Okay. That's hurtful. So, today we'll be I'm here with my friends, my beautiful friends, Sahar and Anisha, and we're going to be talking about societal norms and, like, seeing the bigger picture. So, this time I have another poem for you guys to read. That I wrote yesterday, and just like stuff that's been on my mind. Okay. Did you hear them calling my name? Did I step into my grasp of fame? Everybody is playing a game but can't agree on the rules or the name. Everybody is so the same but so unique it's insane. Maybe I can't complain. In this lonely world of pain, you and I are both contestants. But I don't like competition, though. Can you be on my team? We'll take over the world we created in our dreams. Then run away to go create and facilitate a universe we can only dream but dare to make reality. Blissful ignorance becomes more desirable, but I strive to be more aware. Like a child with asthma without resources available, I gasp for air. I pray to God to make things clear. Why do these people not care? Why are we so easily distracted by things that don't matter and laugh when we fear? Instead of rising up to declare a war that supports freedom, a war that supports what's right, a war that shows love isn't so hard when it's done right. We can end world famine, we can end racism, sexism, and all the isms alike. Realize homophobia isn't real, it's a social flaw. Homosexuality isn't something to fear. Grab my hand and let's go out of here. Jump with me. The ledge looks so scary, but the box is so confining. Trust me, you'll love being out there. So, yeah, that was kind of just basically talking about how people are so easily distracted by things that don't matter, right? Things that are like, oh, the newest fashion trend. Like, and it's cool. You can have your own interests and it's just people are really distracted by being a specific way and doing what society tells you and all these just pointless things that don't really matter and ignore the hardcore truths of life, like the fact that there's people who are starving in other places. Even in our own country, there are so many homeless people, and it's just this is kind of ignored, pushed out, like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's that, like, they don't have the ability to understand it. They're not taught these things, right? In school, they teach, like, fundamental things, but they don't talk to you really about what's happening.
Yeah.
As much as they should be, at least, right? So you kind of either know the basics from the news, or if you don't watch the news, you watch social media. If you're not watching social media, then you're not really informed, right?
Right.
So a lot of people aren't in the place where they can talk about these things because they don't know about these things.
Yeah.
Well, for me, on one hand, it's a way for somebody to cope. So sometimes hearing all this negative things that are happening in the world, some people can't handle that. So they cope by distracting themselves, and then they get too carried away in that, and then they just, forget. On the other hand, it's people that are just like, well, at least it's not me. I have my own problems to deal with. I can't deal with all these other people in the world. I can't even, pay my bills. How am I supposed to help somebody that's starving? So people just focus on themselves so much that they forget that maybe helping that one person, you can help yourself. You figure out ways to help yourself. Maybe, starting an organization can help you feed somebody at the same way you can end up getting paid by, sponsors and stuff like that. You might end up, helping yourself in the end. So it might work out.
Yeah, like big companies, it's kind of debated, like when they do charitable things, is it to gain more money or is it to do charity? I think regardless, it's a good thing. Like, is it Tom's that whenever you buy a pair, they donate one, right? And sure, that might not be like the biggest thing that they would need, but having a pair of shoes donated to these groups of people are still beneficial, and yes, it does help them make sales, but it's still doing good and bettering the planet in a way, even if it's small.
Yeah.
Right? And like what you mentioned, like unless you look at the news, people used to read the newspaper on a daily, which of course I know is also biased based on what will sell more paper.
Well, a lot of things are biased, right? Even any news station is biased, right? They all have a different direction they want to go in, right? Like, even with elections and things like that, they all have a side that they're picking. So, like, they may favor one side and then not really explain the other side or, like, try to just focus on their own side, right? You know what I mean? So, you can't really trust any of these news sources to be like fully truthful.
It's true. I think being informed is really important.
Yeah.
And even though, yeah, it's a coping mechanism to ignore these things in life, I think it'll help you cope even more by experiencing them firsthand.
And by doing something, you feel better about it because you feel like you actually did something.
Yeah.
And then you feel better about yourself because, like, you knowing that, oh, that time I donated my time to help build houses for some people, I actually felt good. I found peace. I found a sense of mind and everything like that. I found myself sometimes. So it actually helps. Like I said, it goes hand in hand. You help yourself. You help somebody else. So.
Yeah.
Karma. Karma's good.
Good karma is always good. I also feel like being open and to everything is really important to get informed, obviously, on all these different things, but to make sure you go there, not victim blame, not blame one thing, because it's a variety of things of why things are the way it is. I learned this more and more through courses I take in school, right? That someone's health relies on economic issues, on social issues, on environmental issues. Like, people need to, everyone's role is important, and everything needs to be looked at on a global scale.
There's always a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So there's always connections, choices that are made. Not necessarily your choices that are made, somebody else's choices always affect you. Just think about like a family. The way that the mother and the father lives their lives affects the children. You don't necessarily see it until it happens. It's kind of like when you think about the global world. The way the president, prime minister, however they think about it, the way that the weather is, it all affects your life, and you don't even realize it until it's already affected.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can realize it while it's happening.
Yeah.
Like David Suzuki, for example. He warned people of what would happen, and no one cared until it's
It's a problem now.
It's a real issue. It's almost too late, some would say. But why do you think, other than coping, people distract themselves or aren't aware, like are ignorant? Why do you think it's not really important to teachers, or not teachers, but the school system to teach these things as importance, like math? Like, maybe there should be a course teaching about world issues in elementary schools.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they don't want to burden such little kids to start thinking like, oh, your world is messed up from the start. Sometimes they want to start in the past, like history. You learn about the wars and stuff like that and how we've moved on from that, but we are kind of facing something now too. And sometimes looking in the past kind of helps your future. So there's some times where they just focus on the past.
Yeah.
But, that's basically what we learned, but I don't necessarily know how that's helping us now because we're dealing with kind of different issues. So we kind of need a new future or
future
or
like I feel like the world issues change like all the time, right? So something that's happening right now isn't going to be happening in like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, right? So I feel like there's no fundamentals for them to be able to teach these things strong enough to teach a whole year's course on them.
Well, it depends, because there's some things that have been in place for a long time that aren't being changed. Like the fact that like environmental racism, where places are put, such as Haiti, we were just talking about, they've had multiple natural disasters, right? And it hits the same spot because of where they're placed on the globe. Why isn't more being done to kind of stop these things, or when this happens, to quickly help them out? Sometimes it's kind of even pushed aside, like when this most recent disaster happened in Haiti, not a lot of people knew. It was kind of like a gradual thing that people found out about, right? It wasn't all over the news and things like. So even just having a course where you learn about current events, because I think children know that the world is messed up, and they're the most caring. I think once you grow older, that's when you start getting hard into it.
Because they start teaching that in high school, right? There's like social problems courses, there's like philosophy, and there's world issues, things like that. Those things happen in in high school.
University too.
Yeah, university. But like that's like a little bit late, you know what I mean? Like you should be taught these things earlier on. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe that they don't think that children that are in grade school like have the ability to take on these things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is hard things to understand when you have to learn about what's going on in the world and what you can actually really do to fix it, right? Because there's not a lot of things you can do as an individual. It's when you are like a group or a society that has to change things, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe they think that it's not the best thing to teach in their curriculum because of the way that how it changes, right?
Right.
So I feel like because of the way it changes, they don't.
They feel like it's a waste.
They don't really have a steady thing to go on. I mean, there are like historical perspectives, and those things should be taught in history class.
Right.
Or they should be taught in a civics and careers class, or like there should be a social problems class, right? There should be something where they have but there, those courses in high school where they have them as term courses, like how we had civics and careers. And
Oh, like those groups that we have to take.
Because there are because there's enough content for them to teach it, but there isn't enough for them to teach for the whole year, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they put it in a semester course. Maybe they should do something like that for high school because they do have
for
something.
Non-semester school,
Exactly. But they should have like an intro thing, like in grade 8, they should have like an intro course where they start talking about problems because that's when it starts, right? People should start to get interested in and informed on like what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And you're not really gonna want to start that in high school because you have things that, like in grade 9, you have a set amount of things you're supposed to take, right? Like English, math, and things like that.
You only have like one elective.
Yeah, exactly. And during that time, you're gonna want to take something fun or something easy.
Yeah.
So it should start earlier than that, where they actually want to show you what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there is some people that actually do care and actually do take an interest at a young age, but because there's no resources for them to gain more knowledge of what they can do and everything, that they just end up like pushing aside because they realize, well, I can't do anything. So there's some people that need an extra push and they need those resources. So those classes would teach them that if you want to make a difference, you can make a difference. You don't need anybody else or anything like that, but sometimes they don't know that they have that power. They don't believe in themselves to have that power because you feel like you're such a
hard to find.
Yeah.
You know it because they tell you all the time. Kids can do everything in elementary school. I remember being told that a lot, but they didn't tell you how. And I feel like the kids who did go that far were the kids who had the resources, like at home, like financial resources or, parents with a lot of time, etc.
Yeah. It's just sometimes you don't get that push and you need that push or those resources.
And I think it depends on the teachers too, because I think the government should have more of a play in it. But like in the elementary school that we all went to elementary school together, and I remember learning about me to we a lot, and kids for kids, right? Is that what it's called?
I don't remember. Memory does not serve me that far.
But it was we learned a lot about these kids having powerful impact on social issues. We just didn't really learn in depth. It could be that, or we just didn't learn in depth, didn't have much time, and we didn't know how to go about it.
Actually, you know what? When I was in grade school before I came to Scarborough, I was in this group called Harmony Movement, and they actually did talk about some social stuff that was going on in our community, right? So they talked about social issues, and we went to classes and informed them. But it was a group. It wasn't a class. It was just a group that went around. Like people come to class, and they're like, oh, we just want to talk about this, right?
Yeah.
So it was like maybe a 30-minute like lecture kind of conversation about what's going on, and it was just to inform. So I feel like that helps in a way, but it's more like
it should be a discussion.
Yeah, and it should happen more often, right? Like I feel like what's happening is that teachers don't have, teachers, like, they have a solid book that they learn from, and then they teach that information to the kids, right? I feel like with social issues and social problems, they're changing in different societies. So, like, what do you really have a book to write on these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, they would always have to keep updating. They'd have to do it in different areas. Every area would have their own type of problems going on. So I feel like it's a little bit difficult in that way for them, and costly, very costly, for them to create these books and these curricular, I don't know what they're called.
Curriculum?
Yeah, like create a whole curriculum based on this, right?
Yeah.
And then cater it to different areas, different places.
And I also remember back in those times when, because you used to have UNICEF come in and explain this is where you're doing your pennies for. But that was a good 5 minutes, and then they just drop it off and they go off, and then the teacher goes back to teaching math or language or whatever. So
and it's a lot about the prizes.
Yeah, and it's more about, I want to get this prize. I want to be the one that has this pizza party.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That promotes it and everything. But they don't really get a sense of that they're actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And they don't see what their pennies are doing.
Yeah.
So
like
I
at that
feel,
age, I wasn't really that caring or thinking that much into it or that deep into it. You know what I mean? I was
yeah,
kinda just
because
doing it.
they don't really open up a discussions. Like the kids, the UNICEF group would come in and talk, and then they just shut it down after because you just know that the pennies are there. Put them in when you have time or when you bring in pennies. And nobody, like the teacher doesn't, like I don't remember our teacher actually sitting there and discussing for like you said 30 minutes after everything what your pennies do, what the difference is. Like how you affect these other kids that are the same age of you as you that does not get the same privileges as you. You don't necessarily know, and I feel like these discussions, even if it's not a curriculum, just to have a teacher just sit there and talk to you about how you're very privileged and you to share that privilege with the world. You never really got that in elementary school, and you still don't even get it in high school. And it's only in university when you really, really realize, because you're actually learning about some classes, not all, but you're actually really learning about. Because I remember in our social problems class, my teacher started off by talking about how we are a nuclear family, basically. Well, generally we were. We kind of grew apart from that. But how that was and how another family might look at it because of their problems and because of
Hi, people of this world who are watching my channel. What's up? Me and my friends had such a more in-depth conversation, like for the whole another 20 minutes, which I would have made maybe a part 2 or another video, but it got cut off. And as you can see, in the prior clip, since I don't have proper editing equipment right now, I'm editing it on my iPad. It's harder, but as you can see from the last clip, she kind of got cut off there. Unfortunately, that happened. We were basically continued on to talk about social norms and how that affects how we react to situations now, about technology, how we came from an age where technology was around but not as intensely as it is now, and how that affects the kids to want to be in a community, to act a lot like one another, and not really thinking for themselves and not able to be unique because everyone just wants to belong, and how everyone is we've become very individualistic, and it's hard to find a community which just leads us to a robotic set of thinking. And I had another poem for it, but I might make a separate video. Who knows if it's with them or if it's with my just little lonely me. But they were great. They have amazing opinions, as you can see. So maybe if I can get them around again, it's hard to hang out and stuff with this university lifestyle, but yeah. So I really want to hear your opinion on this. I don't know how many views, how many people really watch this, but I really want to know more people's opinions on just why we kind of decide to ignore the bigger picture of life and focus on the distractions. In depth, I'd like to know your opinion. So if you could leave a comment below, that'd be great, and we could have a discussion. But yeah, I love you guys. Love and peace. Thank you for making me feel so at home. I guess making these videos feel so comfortable, because you guys really just show me love when I post a video, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you guys. So the Royal Martian signing out. Peace and love. Bye.